Hello everybody and welcome back to Canine Mind. Today we will be doing something a bit different. So I am a head instructor at a local dog school and everyone needs to follow a theory class at least once. This class goes over a bit of all the things you need to know that we don't really have time for during training, because during training we're focusing on learning the dog new things, new commands, more of the basic obedience and not really about dog language, body language, aggression, fear, but also some medical advice. So what I did is I just translated the course that I made, that I give to new members of my dog school. And I'm going to... So today the video will be quite a bit longer, but it's going to be less edited. And I don't have a script, I'm just going to ramble off. I have my PowerPoint right here on my phone. You will also now realize why there are so many jump cuts in my other videos, because I do stumble over my words a lot. But, well, today that's just me and that's just how it's gonna go. I am going to put the PowerPoints up here somewhere. Maybe here or over my face if you rather would see Eowyn. So, first of all, a very important thing to know is that in the dog world everyone has their own field of expertise. Or I like to make the comparisons with us humans. If we want to learn how to play guitar, we go to a guitar teacher. If we're feeling sick, we go to a doctor. If we have experienced a traumatic event and are not feeling well, we go to a therapist. But with dogs, generally, a lot of people just go to the vet and what they say, that's what they follow. You have to know that vets often don't know all the answers, or have very limited answers. And in the dog world, everybody wants to help. So in the dog world there's a whole bunch of different fields as well. So you have your vets, your breeders, your trainers, your dietitians, your behaviorists. Most of them know a bit about all the rest. Like, you can ask me the basics of dog health, and we will discuss dog health as well. But I am still not a vet. Just like a vet cannot really give you behavioral advice in the same way I can. Or even diet advice, like a dietitian can. We see this often with breeders especially, where people really like their breeders, have a lot of respect for the breeders, because, you know, that's where their dog came from, they love their dog, so they love their breeder. But often breeders are wrong about a lot of things, and we notice that it's very hard to, say that the breeder is wrong. Even as a behaviorist, if I encounter a problem, and it's not uncommon for me to hear that, oh, but the breeder said this. Well, but the breeder is not a behaviorist. And that's very hard for some people to understand. Same with vets. They by far have studied the most, but they have not studied behavior or diet. As a behaviorist, when I encounter a dog with a problematic behavior, my first advice will always be to go to the vet, just because there are a lot of physical health issues that can affect behavior that I don't know about, so I will always send someone to a vet. But don't ask a vet about your behavior problems. Well, you can mention it, because again, vets are always the first step. But when you take advice from someone, be very careful who they are and what they have studied. What is their field of expertise? Do they actually know something about behavior? Or do they know something about dog diet or about health? A lot of people just want to help you, It's on one hand, it might be ignorance, that they simply don't know what they don't know, or that they're too proud to admit that they don't know. I think that's the minority. I think most people just honestly want to help. So next up, basics of how dogs learn. I have already tackled this in another video. I will probably remake that video one day, just because I now have a proper microphone. So the original video is a pain to listen to. Again, we will not go over everything, but mostly dogs learn by what we call conditioning. So conditioning, there's two kinds. There's classical conditioning and operant conditioning. Classical conditioning is the dog linking two events together. So let's say I pick up my leash, then my dog already gets excited because she knows we're going for a walk. That's classical conditioning. My dog knows that the leash is followed by the walk. So she reacts to the leash as if she's reacting to the walk. And then there's operant conditioning. Operant conditioning, very basically explained, is just if your dog does something that has a positive outcome for the dog, the behavior will increase. And if the dog does something that ends up punishing the dog, the behavior will decrease. Again, I've gone over this, so I'll just explain the very basics. Let's say my dog smells something in the trash can, she knocks over the trash can. Now there's two options. Either she gets startled from the sound the trash can makes, that's a punishment, that's then a positive punishment, and will not do it anymore in the future. Or maybe she's not scared of the sound it made when the trash can fell over, and now can eat a lot of nice things, and that's a reward, so it's very likely that she will push it over again the next time. So in operant conditioning, you can always add something or remove something. Like I can reward Eowyn by giving her a treat, by giving her pets, by giving her playtime, or I can reward her by taking something away. This is what you often see with slip leads. Like you have the slip lead around the neck, and they pull until the dog sits, and then they remove the pressure. That's a negative reinforcement. You reward the dog by taking something like this pressure away. You can do the same with punishment. You can punish a dog by yelling at her. That would be a positive punishment, you're adding something. Or you can take something away. The most common example is ignoring. One more thing about ignoring specifically is that a lot of people don't really know how to ignore or don't ignore properly. Ignoring has 3 conditions. You do not look at the dog, you do not speak to the dog, and you do not touch the dog. That's something you often hear when dogs jump up, especially when you come home. You should just ignore the dog. And people walk in, they maybe don't look at the dog, they just walk straight ahead, but they still say no or stop, but you're still talking to the dog. It's just like a lot of people say, negative attention is also still attention, and if your dog jumps up because he wants attention, the dog got rewarded. It's not because we think something is a punishment that the dog thinks something is a punishment, or reward for that matter. One more thing about ignoring is that there is something we call the extinction resistance. So extinction means the extinction of behavior. We want behavior to disappear. Extinction resistance means that a behavior that we want to remove by ignoring will first increase. And this actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, something my own teacher always says is that when we try to start the car, and it has worked 1,000 times before, and right now we try to start the car, we turn the keys, and the car doesn't start. What's the first thing most people will do? Just turn it again. It doesn't work, turn it again. Now it worked. And then the next time, if it doesn't work from the first turn, then we'll just know, okay, 2 to 3 times it will work. Same goes with all kinds of behavior. So with dogs, if your dog jumps up, if that behavior has been reinforced for a longer while already, if you're starting to ignore now, like if you want to start ignoring the jumping up in order to remove that behavior, know that the behavior first will get worse. Because your dog knows, hey, if I jump up, I get rewarded. And then suddenly it's not working anymore. So your dog might jump up more aggressively, might even start trying to grab your arm or whatever. Know that that's normal. And if you give up with the ignoring at that point, then your dog has just learned, okay, just jumping up doesn't work anymore, I need to do this more extreme version. That's also why you should never ignore aggressive behavior. You cannot remove aggressive behavior in this way, because it will get worse before it actually gets any better. Next up, let's talk a bit about learning phases. So learning happens in 4 phases. If I want to teach my dog something new, whether it's a new command or a behavior, there's 4 phases that I need to follow. Acquisition, fluency, generalization, and maintenance. So acquisition is the basics. You're trying something new for the first time. So the dog doesn't know what's happening, the dog doesn't know the command, but you're teaching it. How we will teach a command, I will go over in a bit. Then second step is fluency. That's just really drilling it in. Once your dog gets to know the basics, like once that's in there, you will go over to phase 2, so that's fluency, and you just keep repeating it until your dog does it 10 out of 10 times. Step 3 is generalization. That's where you go make things more difficult. So instead of only practicing the sit at home, you will do it on your daily walk or at the dog park. And you just spread out from there, like make it a bit more difficult every single time until your dog is able to do it everywhere. Only when it's generalized, then your dog really knows the command. And after that is maintenance. So even if your dog knows something, if you don't do it for a long enough time, your dog will forget it. So every once in a while, every single command needs to be practiced. When training, one thing that's very useful is a clicker. A clicker is a very simple piece of plastic with a metal sheet in it, and if you press it, it makes a sound. It doesn't mean anything for the dog, but the fact that it's always exactly the same sound means that we can use it to mark behavior. So when I ask my dog to sit, she doesn't know what that means, so I will lure her in a sit, and then I should give her a treat. So again, operant conditioning, so she links the sitting down with getting a reward. The problem is, what if I grab my treat, and as I grab my treat, she stands up again, and then I give it. Now that I reward the sitting down or the standing up? That's the classic example I always give. So what we do is we work with a clicker. Clicker is just a communication tool. When we click it, the dog knows or should know that a treat will follow. So if the dog knows what the clicker is, we ask a sit, we lure the dog in a sit, and the moment her butt touches the ground, I click. And then it doesn't matter if the dog stands up again or barks or whatever, because the click signals that a treat will follow. Classical conditioning. The click means that the treat will follow. The clicker needs to be taught separately as well. The way you do this is very simple. You just shut your mouth, you don't give the dog any command, you don't speak at all, just grab your treat, click, give the dog a treat. Click, give the dog a treat. Again, you're not saying anything. The only link that the dog should make is click means reward. Anything you say can only get in between that, okay? So don't say anything. If you practice this 5 to 10 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day, in a couple of days your dog will learn the clicker. An important thing here is that also this must follow the 4 stages of learning. I see a lot that people practice the clicker at home, the dog knows the clicker at home, but then they don't generalize. They skip that phase and they just come to the dog school, start practicing, and use the clicker. And a lot of the time, the dog doesn't fully understand the clicker yet in that context, because there's just too much going on that's distracting the dog. Everything you teach, every single thing, even if you teach the clicker or if you want to teach the muzzle, like if you want to go to a vet, don't just practice the muzzle at home, practice it everywhere. Don't forget the generalization phase, it's very important. So, then how do we teach a command? We start out very simple. We take a treat, we give the command, then we will have to lure the dog in position. The moment she's in position, we click and we reward. So if I have a treat and I want to teach her the sit, I'll just keep using the sit because that's a very basic and simple command. I make sure I have my attention first, or that I make sure that the dog has attention for me. Then I will give the command. Only once. Do not repeat the command. Your dog doesn't know what that command means. So make sure that your command is, first of all, always the same. Don't say sit one time and then go sit the next time. Just name, sit, and then you start luring, because again, your dog doesn't know what that means. So you take the treat, put it in front of her nose, move up, and a dog that needs to look up will probably sit. The moment she sits, you click and you reward. Now, that luring we do, where we put the treat in front of her nose and then up, we will lure a bit less every single time. Like once you start to think that she gets used to it, you will just lure a little bit less until you don't have to lure at all. Now this is a process that might take days, might take weeks, depending on the exercise. Once you don't have to lure anymore, always give your dog a couple of seconds to think. Okay, if you ask her sit, wait 1, 2, 3 seconds. If she doesn't sit, then you can still lure. Dog training is not a straight line upwards. It's not because your dog knew something 2 days ago that she still knows it today. Until, again, it's very well generalized and maintained already. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so an example that another teacher once told me is that when you're studying for an exam you have the day after, and you go to that exam and you know everything, you ace that exam, and 2 weeks later, suddenly you don't know anything anymore. That's just because you drilled it in. You drilled it in you for a short moment. You didn't generalize it. You didn't really acquire that information. Same goes for dogs. It's not because my dog was able to lie down perfectly 2 days ago that she can still do it today. Well, obviously she can, because again, it's very well generalized. But if you're just starting out, or if you just have a puppy, it's normal. It's a complaint that I often hear, but she knew that only a couple of days ago, or she does it so well at home. Doesn't mean that she has properly understood that command. Next up, let's talk a bit about their general upbringing. There's a couple of important things. One of the most important things is getting a safe haven. Most people use a crate for this. A crate is actually very important for a dog. An analogy I once heard: if you put fish in an empty aquarium, their colors will be very muted. But if you start putting things in that they can hide behind, some furniture, some seaweed, suddenly, instead of hiding, their color starts to pop out. Because they know they have a place they can go to where they are safe in case they need to. Same goes for dogs. A safe haven is a place that if the dog goes to that place, everybody leaves them alone. So I always recommend getting a crate, but I always first recommend looking at your dog. What are your dog's favorite spots to lie down? If my dog has 2-3 spots that she always lies down, that means that spot is already a bit of a safe haven for her. Or that's the spot where she feels comfortable. So don't just put a crate anywhere in the house. Look at where your dog already likes to lie down, because a safe haven is not only the crate, it's the crate, but also the location the crate is in. Feed your dog in the crate, make sure your dog sleeps in the crate, never use the crate as punishment, and make sure it only has one entrance. I always recommend, if you have a cage, to put a blanket on top, because a safe haven is meant for a place where the dog feels safe, and a dog naturally feels safe in a bit of a more enclosed environment. If they're a bit afraid, they can retreat to that spot, and they don't need to look around all the time. There's just one entrance that they need to guard, even though they don't need to. That's why it's also very important to, if your dog is in the crate, to never get your dog out. Or if you want to get your dog out, call her out or call him out. Never touch your dog in the crate. I've given this example in the past. Ewan here doesn't like it when I clip her nails. If I clip her nails, I know after 2 to 3 nails, she will yelp and run in her crate. And then that's done, I'm done clipping her nails. I won't try to continue, because her crate is her safe haven. Even if she doesn't use the crate for months on end, just the fact that the crate is there and that she knows that she's safe there means that her baseline stress is lower. Dogs that know that they just have a place, that if something happens, they can go there, have a lower baseline stress. It's that simple. So even if your dog doesn't use it, it's very important to have it available. Another good tip that I can give a lot of people is to swap out the dog toys weekly or every 2 weeks. People that have children might know this. If your children has a bunch of toys, and there's a couple of toys that they never play with, they haven't touched it for months, so you're like, okay, I'll just throw it away. Suddenly that toy is their favorite toy and it's the most important thing to them. Same goes for dogs. Well, not in that way, but if you swap out their toys weekly or bi-weekly, the toy stays novel. The toy stays fun. It's not just a thing that lies there, So you can easily increase the value of their toys just by swapping them out. Also very important, if you have multiple people in the household, is that everyone needs to follow the same rules. If you have a certain rule in the household, every single person in that household needs to follow them. If things are ambiguous for your dog, that's uncertainty and that's stress. Your dog likes things to be very clear. If your dog is not allowed on the sofa, then your dog is not allowed on the sofa. If you then have one person at home that does allow it, if nobody else is there, your dog doesn't necessarily know that, okay, in this context, okay, that person is there, and all the rest isn't. Only in that context I can go. It's just a lot of stress for your dog. It's a lot better to just have everyone follow the same rules. And then, obviously, you should play and train with your dog every single day. But also not too much. What I see is that a lot of people, especially with puppies, try to socialize their dog or play with their dog and walk their dog too much. A dog needs a lot of rest, especially a puppy. They only need a couple of hours every single day of movement. They sleep a lot, okay? So yes, play every day, walk every day, train every day, but not non-stop. Next up, let's talk a bit about body language. I will put up some pictures on screen. Well, I will put my PowerPoint on screen so you will see the pictures. These are some signals that dogs often use when communicating both with each other and with you. These signals can mean two things. They are calming signals. Calming signals means dogs communicating with each other. Like two dogs approaching each other will lick their lips or yawn, for example, just as a signal of, hey, look, I am no threat. Just communicating with each other and trying to calm each other down, making sure that they can approach each other safely. But it can also be a stress signal. Like, if I'm going to be all around Eowyn, for example, see? She doesn't like that very much. That was a bit too much. She will immediately start yawning. That's a stress signal, so I just quit. To reward that she showed me that signal. Obviously, yawning is not always a stress signal. You will see, or people will see Eowyn lick their lips or yawn all the time. It could be from anything. Maybe she's seeing something outside that makes her a bit stressed or a bit uncertain. She will lick her lip for that. You can be sure that the door is open. She can leave at any time. I'm not holding her here, okay? So the fact that she's here means that she wants to be here. But stress signals, you will see licking lips, yawning, but also looking away, that's the third picture, are calming signals and stress signals. Looking away is already a bit more extreme. See, right now she's panting, that's a stress signal. But it could also be something else. You know, just one stress signal doesn't mean that your dog is necessarily super stressed. Looking away is already a step above. So dogs will communicate in different steps, what we call the ladder of aggression. That will come in later. The first couple of steps are communicating, lip licking, yawning, panting, like she's doing now. Then comes trying to remove themselves. That's where you get to looking away. Above looking away then would be walking away. And after that is surrendering, and after that is aggression. But I'm going ahead. Next up, you will see two dogs approaching each other, and you will see that they approach each other in a curve. Dogs generally will not approach each other in a straight line, because that's very confrontational. Which is why you might have experienced that when you're in a dog park with your dog and another dog sprints straight towards you, that your dog suddenly becomes defensive. That's because dogs generally do not do that. They will generally go in a curve and try to sniff each other's butts. Why they do that, we will touch upon later. This is important to know for us, because often when we're walking our dogs and we see someone that we know, we're like, hey, and they're also walking their dog. We're like, hey, how are you doing? And we're going straight to that other person. But what we're actually also doing is forcing our two dogs in a confrontation. So if you're walking your dog, or you have your dog and you're approaching someone with another dog, always try to go in a curve. Don't go in a straight line towards them. Next up, body language, we have splitting. Splitting is more common in packs that know each other. Basically, if things start to escalate, a third dog will split up the other two and defuse the situation. Important here is that dogs do this, not us. If your dogs have a problem with each other, it's best to stay out of it as a human. Most conflict happens because of human intervention. So let's say Eowyn protects me, another dog sprints towards me, I know she will react and she will not attack that dog, but she will, pin that dog down. I'm not going to try and grab Eowyn and pull her out, I'm just going to get away. If I get away, I defuse the situation. Dogs avoid conflict, almost always. The only reason I will intervene if dogs are fighting, if it's getting too serious and it's the only way to prevent a vet. If it's me intervening or a vet, I will intervene. If it's not going to that level, just let dogs be dogs. It's best to just stay out of it. This is not only during conflict, but also generally around the house. If you have multiple dogs, what I see a lot of people do is that one dog is chewing on a toy, and then the other dog comes and steals it. And people find it sad and will take the toy back and give it to the dog who originally had it. But you're just creating more conflict between those two dogs. If she takes the toy of another dog, then now it's her toy, If I'm going to take it and give it back, she will only think, no, wait, but we handled this. This was my toy. And she might only try to retake it more aggressively. So if that happens, give that other dog another toy. And if not, let them handle it separately. Most problems between dogs are because of humans. And then lastly, but very importantly, about body language is the tail. A lot of people think that the dog wagging their tail is a happy and confident dog. And that is sometimes the case. But the tail is actually a lot more than that. It can communicate a lot more than that. A dog wags their tail not because of body language, but because of scent. So in their butt, they have two anal glands. In that anal glands, there's some liquid, and that has a strong smell that's unique to every dog. It's a strong smell for dogs, luckily not to us, we can smell it. And tail wagging is dispersing that smell. So a dog that wags their tail very widely is a dog that's happy and confident. They're spreading that smell all around. Everybody may know that they're there, they're just happy. But a dog that's more stressed can also wag their tail, but their tail will be a lot sharper, a lot faster, but shorter distance. This creates a stronger smell. So a dog that's approaching, a dog that's wagging their tail like that, will notice that smell and be like, oh, okay, I'd rather back off because that other dog is stressed and I risk getting attacked if I approach now. That's also why they sniff each other's butts when they first start to greet each other. It's just getting to know each other, just smelling, hey, who are you, what's that unique smell? And that's also why they put their tail between their legs when they're afraid. It's not necessarily putting their tail between their legs, it's closing off the butt. And this is why dogs with a cut tail or a curled tail, like the Shiba Inus or the Akitas, where the tail is curled on their back, are generally a bit less social with other dogs. And it's not because they are less social, it's because the other dogs simply do not understand them that well. Like if an Akita is stressed and tries to wag their tail like that, they're simply not succeeding. They can't wag their tail that efficiently. Same with a scared dog that wants to put their tail between their legs. They simply can't. And that can then lead to conflict. So next up, we'll watch a small video about the dog that's afraid and of something. And we're just going to watch it right now, a small piece of it, and I'm going to comment on it afterwards. So what you saw was a dog sending all sorts of stress signals. So I hope you noticed them. The dog was yawning, the dog was looking away, the dog was even looking for protection near the owner. And you might have noticed that what the dog was afraid of was actually just nothing. You know, it was just a toy. But that's very important to realize that, you know, because we know something isn't dangerous or isn't scary, doesn't mean that it's not scary for the dog. What I find even more interesting in this video is what the trainer did, or the owner. She didn't reinforce the fear, even when the dog was leaning against her leg. If a dog's afraid and looking for protection near you, it's okay to give that protection. But it's not okay to reinforce their fear. A dog that's afraid should not be rewarded for being afraid. That's very important. So just stay neutral. If your dog's terrified of loud bangs and there's fireworks going off, don't ignore that, okay? Just try to calm your dog down. But don't be too dramatic, okay? You don't need to make it even worse. But on the other hand, she also didn't force the dog to face his or her fears. And she didn't force the dog to interact with it. That's another thing a lot of people do. A lot of times when dogs are afraid, owners will be like, it's nothing, come on. And they will just take the dog and force the dog towards that thing that they're scared of, which could potentially be traumatic. What she did was just nothing. She let the dog show all those signals, and when the dog calmed down a bit, only then did she take a step closer, until the dog was fine with it. Okay? So, it's very important. If your dog's afraid of something, do not force your dog to get closer, but also don't confirm that fear. Next up, we actually have a bit more of body language. We have two pictures right here. On the left we see a stereotypical scared dog. You can see people often first look at the tails and ears. You can see tail all the way down, ears to the back. But you can also see just the general position. The dog has a very low position, is looking upwards, eyes are wide open. These are all signals of fear. And then the picture next to it, what you can see is that one dog is pretty dominant. It's a very high stance, tail is upwards. Obviously it's a picture, the dog might as well be wagging. And you can see that the other dog is standing sideways. Remember when I said earlier that dogs will look away to avoid conflict? The step after that is turning the entire body away. So that's what that other dog is doing. Next two pictures, we have aggression. Both of these dogs are aggressive, but there's a big difference between them. The picture on the left is dominance aggression, and the picture on the right is fear aggression. Remember the first picture you saw of the dog that was afraid? Let's tackle the fear aggression first. Hey. You can see that the ears are all the way to the back, eyes are open, and the dog is attacking from a lower position. That's fear aggression. On the other hand, the dog is standing up, tail is upwards, ears forwards, eyes open, but also important is the shape of their mouth. You can see the dominant dog has what we call a C-shape mouth, or C-shape lips. They're just showing the canines, they're just threatening with the canines. Whereas a dog that's afraid, fear aggression, will bite with everything. A dog, an attack from fear aggression, you will be able to see all the teeth. Because the dog is afraid, they're just throwing everything they have. One important thing here is that most of the times when a dog is aggressive, people will say that their dog is dominant, or it's a dominant dog, or it's dominance-based aggression. But know that dominant aggression is incredibly rare. Almost all forms of aggression are fear-based. Okay? Most behaviorists that I know that have been lifelong behaviorists have seen dominance aggression once, maybe twice. It is incredibly rare, and yet it's the first thing people jump to when they see an aggressive dog. So then, fear aggression. Let's talk a bit about the ladder of aggression. I already explained it. So dogs have certain stress signals. These stress signals follow certain steps. So that's what we call the ladder of aggression. So we start out with the communication, like I said, the yawning, the lip licking. What else is on here? Blinking, nose licking. Yeah. Then next step, it's turning their head away until eventually walking away and so on. Eventually the dog will try to surrender, and then, only then, they will go over to aggression. Aggression is growling, snapping, biting. Not all steps are here. Blitzing could be one of them. Blitzing is just showing the teeth. A dog also does not need to get all the steps. They might skip a couple of steps. The biggest problem here, and this one is maybe the most important to remember, is, let's say I have Eowyn here. Let's say I hold Eowyn tight, and she doesn't like that very much. She starts yawning, she starts looking away, but I don't really know a lot about dogs, so, I don't even notice that that's a stress signal. She wants to walk away, but she can't, because I'm holding her. Surrendering, she can't. Also, surrendering is something they usually do between dogs, not really towards humans. So eventually she starts growling. I'm a bit confused, but I keep holding Eowyn until eventually she bites me. And the moment she bites me, I back away because I'm terrified, I'm bleeding. The issue now is that she got rewarded for the biting because she got what she wanted. I went away, I left. The next time someone gets near her and she thinks that someone wants to grab her, she will not go over all those steps because she has learned that all of those previous steps don't work. She needs to bite in order to be left alone. And that's when you get dogs that bite or get aggressive seemingly out of nowhere. That also isn't dominant aggression. It's also fear aggression, but this is learned aggression. So this one is very important to know. A dog that suddenly bites or suddenly starts growling or threatening, know that that's not normal. That means that sometime in the past, that dog has had to go through all of these steps and has gotten ignored. That still isn't a dominant dog. That still is a fear-based attack. Next up, we have the stages of life. Imprinting phase. The imprinting phase is the moment they get all their senses. They get born deaf and blind, but after 3 weeks, they can hear, they can see, and they can start exploring the world. And between week 3 and 7, although imprinting phase especially is a bit ambiguous, some experts claim 3 to 16 even, everything that happens in that phase is set for life. This is the most defining stage of life for your dog's behavior. The issue here is that, especially if it's week 3 to 7, it's not in your hands, it's in your breeder's hands. And this is why dogs that come from bad breeders or dogs that got imported from another country or rescues, that's why those dogs often are very difficult and struggle with very difficult behavioral problems that are impossible to remove. If something happens in the imprinting phase, that's set for the rest of their life. The best behaviorist cannot completely remove that behavior. If a dog has learned that it needs to be aggressive in that phase, or if a pup was taken away from their mother immediately, put in a shelter at a very, very young age, only a couple of weeks old, know that that dog will always be a fearful dog. There's no getting around it. Like maybe lunging towards people or general reactivity. Know that the best behaviorist cannot remove that. The only way to remove that is to start punishing the dog with punishments that are so extreme that the dog doesn't dare to show them anymore. But that doesn't fix the issue, that only fixes the symptoms. Next up, primary socialization phase. That goes a bit along the lines of the imprinting phase. The primary socialization phase is the most important phase of socialization. During this phase is when you can most easily socialize your dog, which sucks a bit because it's a puppy, so it also needs a lot of rest and you don't need to socialize all the time. But week 4 to 12 is the easiest because at that point your dog should not be able to feel fear at all. They are exploring. If you have a puppy, let's say 10 weeks old, that is afraid of something, know that you have a serious problem on your hands. That's a serious issue. A puppy week 4 to 12 is not able to be afraid. You can socialize them very easily. They love exploring. If they're afraid, contact the behaviorist immediately, because that's not normal. And then the secondary socialization phase, that's after week 12 until their puberty, so that depends on the breed. That's what we also call the fear phase, or the anxiety phase. That's where they start becoming afraid of a lot of things. Even things that they might have gotten used to already, suddenly they can show a fearful response. So let's say week 4 to 12 you've socialized very well on horses. Suddenly they're 14 or 15 weeks old, suddenly they're afraid of horses. So this is where they're also very sensitive to traumatic experiences. It's still very important to socialize your dog during that phase, but here you will need to be a lot more careful, because if they have a trauma, it's going to be a lot harder for them to recover. Okay, so speaking of socialization and habituation, usually we say socialization while we actually mean habituation, but that's just a definition thing. Socialization is learning how to interact with, and habituation is learning to ignore things, basically, you know? A good example is a border collie. If you want to socialize your border collie to sheep, that border collie needs to work with sheep, needs to know how to work with them. Whereas if you don't want that, you just want to walk past sheep normally, that's habituating your border collie to sheep. Habituation is just helping your dog become comfortable with all sorts of things. Sounds, people, dogs, vehicle, horses, loud noises. The list goes on and on and on. The thing is, you can't socialize your dog to everything. There's just so much. And know that you need a lot of variety. Socializing towards people, your dog needs to meet people from different racial backgrounds, people wearing glasses, old people, young people, kids, people wearing hats, people with umbrellas, long jackets. It's not just people, okay? Make sure you have a variety of people. Same goes with dogs and horses and vehicles, and you know, make sure that you have a lot of variety. Don't just socialize on the same one every single time. It's very important because, again, it prevents fear and aggression. The dog that's not stressed all the time, something new happens, is a confident dog. You obviously can also just have a dog that is naturally more confident, and they will be able to socialize a lot easier. But yeah, every dog is different. A couple of rules about socialization is to not do it all at once. Like I said previously, especially with puppies, they need a lot of rest. Plan in socialization moments. Do one thing at a time. And also make sure that your dog has a way out. I often hear people want to socialize their dogs to people, so they just take their dog to a busy market. But in a busy market, your dog cannot escape if it's too much for him, you know? So build up to those things gradually. Don't suddenly throw your dog in overwhelming situations. Never force your dog. Always watch your dog closely. Watch their body language. You will now know the stress signals, so look out for those. If your dog starts to show severe stress signals, just get out or increase the distance to the trigger. Okay, next up, the most important factor that will define your dog's behavior is its breed. And sadly, most people choose a dog breed that they think looks nicest. But most dog breeds are working breeds. They are bred with a specific purpose. And that purpose that they are originally bred for will tell you a lot about what you can expect from the dog. People contact me, for example, because their terrier starts digging. Well, it's a terrier. A terrier, terra, means earth. They are meant to dig. A behaviorist cannot undo hundreds, if not thousands of years of breeding. Luckily, you don't need to research every single breed. You can often find these pages with 100 dog breeds, and then they rank them from how trainable they are, how reactive they are. It's actually not that hard, and to do that we have the FCI. So the FCI is the international organization that defines what a breed is. Fun thing to do if you're bored, go to the FCI website, click on a breed. It's a very big and extensive library of information about dog breeds. It goes in very sharp details, mostly about their physical appearance. But luckily for us, the FCI has grouped all breeds, but there are 10 different groups. Some of these groups are a mix of multiple types of dogs, and obviously if you're grouping dogs, there are going to be outliers. But knowing these things can be a general indication of what to expect from a dog. They are here, so let's just go over them quickly. Group 1, sheepdog and cattle dog, so these are your shepherds. Shepherds obviously very highly trainable, bred to work with their owner. They are bred to guard livestock, to herd them, so they might be reactive towards sheep and horses, but they might also hurt people. If you have a family and you have a shepherd, you might notice that your dog starts herding the family. Generally, these are bred to be very intelligent dogs, very smart, highly trainable, but also high energy. Very high energy, both mentally and physically, and if they don't get their daily exercise, they might become destructive. Group 2 is pinschers, schnauzers, molossoids. Molossoids are all types of bulldogs. Basically, molossoid is a skull type, so all the short-snouted breeds, and the Swiss mountain dogs and cattle dogs. These are mostly guarding dogs. Again, there's a couple of exceptions, like the Dogo Argentino, which is a molossoid, is actually bred as a hunting dog. Groups can be perfect, can they? So these are your guarding dogs. This means that these dogs very likely will bark at things that are coming near the house. They are very reactive. They are distrusting of strangers. They are very calm and very relaxed in their own home, in their own environment, but they can be territorial. Next up, terriers, and group 4 is the Dachshund or the Tackles. It's weird that they have their own group, because a Dachshund also is a terrier. So terriers, as I said, these are your ground dogs. These are rodent hunters. These are very independent. They are meant to just put on a farm and hunt rodents. Rabbits, rats, they dig in the hole of the vermin and kill them there. They are bred to work incredibly independent. They are extremely hard to train. They are incredibly stubborn. They are escape artists. They dig a lot. They might bark a lot. But they're mostly farm animals. They're meant to put on a farm, and they're just happy and they will kill the rodents. That's what they were bred for. Something like a Jack Russell, for example, very small dog, is actually bred to kill foxes. So they're meant to be able to take a lot of damage and not give up. Very, very difficult dog breed. Then next group, Spitz and primitive types. I can't really say too much about these dogs. In this group you have a lot of variety. There's like the Basenji, which is a primitive type. It's a very old, thousands of year old African hunting dog. But also the Husky is also in this group. The Pomeranian is in this group. So very large variety, very hard to make an overarching statement about their behavior. Generally they can be very vocal, a bit harder to train, very, very high drive. But other than that, there's just too much variety for me to... And I don't know these breeds that well to go in deeper. Group 6, Sandhound and related breeds. These are your beagles, for example. So they're bred to work with a hunter and track down wild boar or elk or whatever. So it makes sense that the most common complaint here is that they are very hard to train off leash. Because if they're off leash, they will just follow their nose, which is normal. That's what they were bred to do. Then pointing dogs. Pointing dogs are also very high drive, working with a hunter, but they will not track the wild animals themselves. They will point towards it. They will signal to the hunter where the elk, for example, is. So these are a bit more trainable. Also very high drive. Especially you need a lot of mental stimulation. Don't bark as much. Again, to not scare off the wild. But yeah, very active. These dogs also love using their nose, so you might have issues off leash, but generally they are not as bad as the Sandhounds. Very high drive, very trainable, again, bred to work more closely with the hunter. Then the retrievers, flushing dogs, water dogs. These are your golden retrievers, and then water dogs is basically anything with curly hair. Very trainable, very nice dogs, very friendly dogs. Great family animals, great with children, because a retriever, for example, is bred to retrieve. Let's say the hunter shoots a duck, the duck falls down, and then the retriever goes and retrieves it. Obviously, the retriever should not damage the duck. So they are bred to have a very soft bite. They will just gently hold on and bring it to the hunter undamaged. Water dogs do the same, but in water. That's why these are great for families. They are still high drive, but if they bite, if they get aggressive, you're not going to get damaged really. They are bred to be very trainable, very friendly, soft bite. Great dogs overall, great pets. Then group 9 are your companion and toy dogs. These are generally smaller dogs. These include a bit of everything. The Cavalier King Charles Spaniel is in here, but also the French Bulldog. That's a big fly. Get out. These are bred to be very focused on their owner. They are lower energy, they need a lot less of movement. However, they are very attached to their trainer, so they are pretty well trainable, but their attention span may differ. Okay, so because they have so much attention for their owner, training them is very easy, but a training session of 1 hour might be hard for these dogs. And then lastly, group 10 are the Sighthounds. These are also hunting dogs. They are the only ones that hunt on sight. They are incredibly fast, need a lot of especially physical stimulation. They love running around. Also very reactive to moving objects. It's not uncommon to have the complaint that a Sighthound is lunging towards moving cars, for example. Other than that, well, these dogs are not that common, so I also don't have that much experience with them. I don't think I have a single one in my dog school, actually. Yeah, these are actually pretty rare. These are usually used for dog sports anyway. Next up, health. Remember the first slide? I am not a vet. I have been trained by a vet for 7 months, but I do not have any practical experience. So these are just the very basics. Always consult your vet if you have any questions. So general rules. So when your dog has eaten, you should give him at least an hour of rest. This is to prevent gastric torsion. Gastric torsion is something that's potentially lethal in 15 to 30 minutes. So what it is the dog's stomach is actually at the bottom of their body, and you can compare it to a hangmat. So you have you have the entrance and the exit, and the stomach itself is hanging. The thing is, if the dog is eating and the stomach starts getting full and they start moving, what could happen is that it twists around, closing off the exit and the entrance. You need to go to a hospital immediately if you notice the signs of shock. Signs of shock are, it could be anything. It could be the dog freezing, but it could also be the dog suddenly panicking. I always check the blood flow if I am not sure. I raise my dog's lip, I press the gums, and I count the seconds. The gums need to be normal color in 2 seconds. If it takes longer than that, then you have an issue with blood flow. If your dog's also behaving very weirdly, either very panicky or just lying down flat, which would be normal for that dog, it's always best to consult a vet, okay? But if your dog has just eaten and then has activity, you just have a lot of risk that happens. And again, incredibly lethal. Especially with bigger dogs. The German Shepherd, like Ewan here, are one of the breeds that are infamous for gastric torsion. So with certain breeds, especially larger breeds that are active, you need to be extra careful. Do not let puppies use the stairs too much to prevent hip dysplasia. Their muscles and their bones are growing. The stairs are not that great. And never take away drinking water, even if the dog urinates a lot, is the next one. Some people might take it away because they get frustrated that the dog urinates that much. But you need to know, does the dog urinate a lot because they drink a lot of water? Or does the dog need to drink a lot of water because they urinate a lot? And then you might actually have a health issue. Because of a health reason, the dog urinates a lot and therefore it needs to drink. So never take water away. The only exception that I sometimes recommend to people is if you have a puppy that is not potty trained yet, that pees inside at night, then I would say at about 8 p.m. take the water away. But that's the only exception, and even that, is like a last resort. Then make sure your dog does not become overweight. Most dogs are overweight. General rule for most dog breeds is that you are not allowed to see their ribs, but you're able to feel them easily. Like if I just go over Eowyn, I'm able to feel every individual rib pretty easily, but you're not able to see them. That's the perfect weight. Actually, it's a bit more difficult with Eowyn. She might need to go on a diet. And then lastly, avoid asphalt when it gets too hot. I have 30 degrees here, but I do have friends in Arizona, for example. Let's say they walk their dog out all the time. Maybe those dogs are used to it, I don't know. And then everybody knows chocolate is bad for dogs. Chocolate is toxic. but there's a lot more. Grapes, raisins, avocado, macadamia nuts, currants, onions, garlic, leeks, chives, and xylitol. Xylitol is a sweetener that's often found in sugar-free products. Because I've heard people giving their dogs a muffin, for example. My dog can have it, doesn't have any chocolate, doesn't have any sugar, can't be that bad, but it has xylitol instead as a sweetener. Very toxic. And then a book recommendation, just First Aid for Dogs. For Dummy series, I have it in Dutch, although I did look it up. There is an English version, but the English version is from another vet. So I don't know if it's the same. The one I have is very, very good. It's very simple, very small. The critical issues are first, I'm going to murder this fly. I got it. So, where was I? I'm gonna have to clean my window because I smashed it on there. Anyways, okay, neutering. You should always spay female dogs if you don't intend to breed. Because spaying can actually prevent a lot of life-threatening diseases, like uterine infection, mammatory tumors, various types of cancers. Even people that breed with their dogs will generally spay their dogs somewhere between age 6 to 8. Because those are really especially around 8 years old, that's when those things really start to pop up. And they are not uncommon. They're pretty common and they are lethal. So, always neuter female dogs. When should you spay your female dogs? I have talked to a lot of vets and the opinions seem to differ. Some say before their first heat, others say after their first heat. Personally, I believe after their first heat would be better because then the hormonal system has run its course. You know, your dog is all the hormonal levels are normal at that point. Whereas if you do it before, I don't know. But again, I'm not a vet, so actually I'm not even going to continue. She got spayed after her first heat. That's what my vet said. That's what some other vets say. But I've also heard before the first heat, I also heard after the second heat. Who knows? I don't. And then male neutering, castration. Castration doesn't mean necessarily that your dog will be less aggressive. And that's why most people do it. Castration could actually lead to aggressiveness, simply because without testosterone your dog will be more anxious and the chance on fear-based aggression is higher. But also, and this is just a theory that I learned from some vets, the hormone that gets made to start testosterone production gets produced en masse, and that hormone in itself in large amounts can lead to aggression. So how this works is just your brain constantly measures all hormones, and if it notices a hormone is too high or too low, it will make a unique hormone meant to start or reduce production of that hormone. And so with testosterone, they get started with this LH hormone. So your brain starts to make this LH hormone because it notices, hey, there's no testosterone. Tries to start testosterone production, measures again, sees there is no testosterone production, makes even more of that LH hormone, and keeps pumping and pumping until that hormone is everywhere where it shouldn't be, and that in itself can lead to aggression. This is just a theory, a dog theory. The complicating factor is that for females, it's the same LH hormone. So the theory is that females, in general, I mean ask any woman, experience a lot of more imbalance in their hormones, so that's more normal for them, so they are more used to having imbalanced hormones, whereas males are pretty stable, at least hormonal. So yeah, again, not a vet, that's what my vet taught me, that was in my course. I can only tell you to not necessarily castrate your male dogs. And if you want to castrate your dog for a behavioral issue, you can always try chemical castration. It's something they inject in your dog and then they're castrated for 6 months, I believe. If you're going that route, do know that it can take 1 to 2 months for that to take effect. So it's not that your dog gets the injection and then 2 weeks later you don't see a difference and say that it doesn't work. okay. Okay, next up, we're just gonna go over some practical tips. Number 1 is being alone. Separation anxiety is actually incredibly rare. Most of the dogs simply have never learned to be alone. You have to start doing this with puppies already. So I start inside. I will, for example, close off access to my kitchen, and my dog will learn that if I'm in the kitchen, or just my dog will learn that he or she is not allowed in the kitchen. She can see me while I'm there, while I'm cooking, but she's not allowed in. I block it off with like a puppy gate. So I always advise to not have your dog follow you or be allowed to interact with you everywhere. Have set locations where your dog is not allowed to go. Even if you don't mind that your dog goes there, like I don't mind if anyone goes to the kitchen, but it's just so she learns to be alone. And then, for example, if you're taking a shower, close the door so she doesn't even see you anymore. And then you can start building up to going outside for a minute and so on, and build up from there. But a lot of people forget to start inside, and you can start easily with that. Separation anxiety is when your dog is actually too attached to you. While that sounds very nice and very lovely, it can lead to a lot of issues. Sometimes you just have to be hard and make sure that your dog learns how to be alone properly. And to do that, you have to restrict access to you sometimes. Stop leash pulling. There's a couple of methods. I always advise the stop and go method. The moment your dog pulls, the reason he or she is pulling is because she wants to go on, so you just stop. Make sure the dog removes the tension from the leash before you go on again. The reason I have this one in here is because people usually overestimate the speed of these things. It can take a couple of weeks just to see the first improvements. Potty training. This is especially for pups. Reward your dog if he goes outside. After a while, you should know when your dog needs to go potty. When you have a puppy, when they have slept, they woke up, put them outside. Wait until they need to pee. Generally, it's about 20 minutes at most. If they pee outside, give them a reward. Did they drink a lot of water? 20 minutes later, put them outside. Do not punish them if they have peed inside and you're not catching them in the act. If you catch them in the act, because again, dogs only have a couple of seconds to create the link. If you catch them in the act, you can interrupt with your voice, grab them, put them outside, reward. If your dog has done inside, like in the morning you wake up, you notice that your dog has peed inside, don't punish your dog doesn't know why he's getting punished. Dogs only have 1 to 2 seconds to form a connection. Choosing treats for training is a very fun one, especially if you have issues with your dog, with your dog's attention span during training. It can be very nice to bring multiple treats. You put them in separate bags because dogs don't taste that much, they mostly smell. And then start with your lower treats or with your lower value treats. Give them to your dog. And then once you notice his or her attention starts lacking, you go move over one. The fun thing is you can let your dog choose which treats he values the most. The way you do this is you have, let's say, 3 different types of treats. You put them out on the ground, 1, 2, 3. Your dog will just pick them up 1, 2, 3. You do it again, 1, 2, 3, same order, 1, 2, 3. Do this a couple of times and you will notice that your dog, instead of going left to right or right to left, after a while your dog will start to have a preference. Okay, this one I'm going to take first, then second, then third. And that way you know which treats your dog likes most. What? I'm almost done. Biting. Okay, so biting, what I mean is not aggressive biting, but puppy biting. More than 80% of puppies will puppy bite. Important here is to not allow it at all. A lot of people will only punish the dog, and punish, I mean a verbal correction for example, when they are hurt. But my pain tolerance might be a lot higher or lower than someone else in my family. And so it is very hard to teach a dog a certain threshold of biting that's allowed. So as a general rule, the moment your dog bites, you yelp, and again, like I mentioned previously, your dog needs to get startled in order for it to be an actual correction. When I'm playing with my puppy, she bites me, I yelp very loudly, unexpectedly, and I stop playing. Only for 20 to 30 seconds, and then I play again. Even if the bite didn't hurt me at all. Just because your dog needs to know, biting is not okay. And prevention is always better than punishment. So if I'm playing with my dog and I notice that she will want to bite my hand, I make sure that I always have something that she is allowed to bite it instead. And before she goes, I pull my hand away, give her that instead. That way she learns what she's allowed to bite in. And then the jumping up, that I already told you, ignoring, it does work, but you have to realize that things will get worse before they get better. Okay, then next and lastly, we will talk a bit about children and dogs. I have an image here, I'll just put it on screen. You know, don't bother your dogs when they're eating. Don't take their toys or treats away. Don't put your face right up in their face. Don't bother them when they're resting or when they're in their crate. Don't pull on their ears or tails. Don't climb on the dog. Don't hug too tightly. Or even at all, dogs generally don't like to be embraced. It's very intimidating for a dog to be completely embraced by something, which is also why a lot of them actually prefer the collar over a harness. And don't shout at your dog. I mean, most of these things make sense. About the bothering while they're eating and grabbing their tail and ear and stuff. As a general rule, don't do this. However, when my dogs are puppies, I do it sometimes. Like when my puppy is eating, I will pull the tail, I will pull the ears, will pull the paws. As a form of habituation. Making sure that if a child suddenly pulls my dog's tail, that she doesn't get startled and bites that child. Obviously, this is very annoying for your dog if you do this all the time. So don't do it too much. But it's something when I get a puppy, I do it a couple of times. Just to make sure that my dog knows, like, hey, this can happen, okay? This is fine. But again, avoid children doing it. I only do it as a form of training. And that was going to be that. So it was a long one. I hope you didn't mind my rambling. If you have any questions or any comments, maybe there's something that I missed and that I should put in my theory class that you either already know or want to know, put them down in the comments and I promise you I will get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. We're almost at 100 subs, which is insane. Most people watching the videos are not subscribed though. Most of my subs come from shorts, which I kinda hate. I wish the educational videos were doing better. But, you know, maybe someday. Anyways, so please subscribe to hit that 100 mark. I appreciate all of you. Just the fact that you're watching this means that you really care about your dog and your dog's well-being. And honestly, that's the most important thing to me. So, thank you very much and hopefully until next time. Bye-bye.